Happy Taro, everyone. My name is William Fife. I'm an associate professor with Northern Marianas College, and I'm honored to be the moderator for our event tonight with this esteemed and distinguished panel. I'm super excited for our community and especially our students on island to get to experience multiple perspectives from people from the Pacific Ocean and the Caribbean, and to get different opinions and perspectives on democracy and American irony at its finest on President's Day, as we are denied the right to vote. And so it's a timely and important conversation, and as I said, I'm just really excited to be a part of the event and to learn from these really distinguished attorneys and advocates that have a wide range of experiences with that are related to these issues of democracy and how the territories are arguably negatively impacted by the lack of democracy. And so today on President's Day, it's an exciting conversation to have and an important one. So I'm excited for our community to get more education and awareness on these important topics. And so on that note, I guess I'll pass it on.
Okay. I'm Charles Lima. I am an attorney in American Samoa. I'm basically on the verge of retiring and have feet in both Samoa, both independent and American Samoa. I also have one foot up in Seattle, which is where my family is, so probably be retiring up there. However, I've been involved in American Samoa and also independent Samoa legal issues for the past 40 odd years. So a lot of what I deal with down there have been these issues, concerns about what civil rights are available to American Samoans because of their particular status. Mr. Neil Ware here came down to Samoa about 12 years ago to try to work on this issue of citizenship. Unlike Northern Marianas and Guam, American Samoa does not have U.S. citizenship by birth, and the issues that were raised, the constitutional issues that were raised by that were raised quite well, and we are trying to advocate for constitutional citizenship. It's taking a while because the Supreme Court in a number of cases has not taken up the issue. So hopefully at some point in time they will address this issue of why a sovereign part of the United States will not grant citizenship by birth to those people. I hope I'm also on the board of the Democracy Now! Program, which is sponsoring this, and I am very happy to be part of that board to try to learn from the various territories just what their experience has been. We all come from different backgrounds in terms of historically how we became part of the United States, but we do share a great deal in common, and those are the commonalities of what we're looking for as we go through this process of meeting and with people in the various territories. So I hope that tonight we will get good feedback on what kind of issues we CNMI people are noted, see how that can be put in common with what American Samoans face, what Virgin Islands face, and in that commonality create a program that will be able to address the issues that all our territories have. Thank you.
Hafude and Timor, did I say it right? Tyrone. And good morning. My name is Pamela Colon, C-O-L-O-N. I live in the U.S. Virgin Islands. I've been there since 1992. I was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. When I was in Chicago, I was able to vote in 3 presidential elections after turning 18. I voted in 1980, 1984, and 1988. I moved during election year, and when I went to go register to vote, I found out I couldn't, and I was shocked. To my shame, I accepted it, which is so unlike me personality-wise. It shocks me still this day. But I came to advocate for expansion of the Constitution, full application of the Constitution to all U.S. citizens, no matter where they are, through the experience of my son turning around 15. He's 26 now, but when he turned 15, I realized he was going to have to register for selective service. And neither he nor I could vote for the commander-in-chief that he would have to serve under if he was called. Neither of us had a vote for those who would declare any war that he might have to fight in, nor did we have any say in those who would fund such a war. And I began to advocate and learned a lot more about the lack of civil rights. Socrates informs us that the misuse of language is a primary source of evil. So I will not call us territories, I will call us colonies, because that's what we are. And I have now become both a legal advocate. I was a plaintiff in the Segovia case, which unfortunately the Seventh Circuit did not see fit to expand our voting rights. And I was also an attorney, one of the lawyers involved in the case that was just argued in the Ninth Circuit in Hawaii last week. Hopefully, we'll get a little more traction there. In the meantime, though, I'm also now serving as the appointed chairperson of the U.S. Advisory Committee to the United States Commission on Civil Rights. Our report should be out this week, and I'm told we will be presenting to the Commission on April 19th, and I'm very excited about that. I'm really looking forward to the event tonight because, as Charlie said, there are vast differences between the territories and the issues they face and how they came to those issues, but there's a lot of commonality as well. We are equally all treated unequally. So we definitely have that in common. And I'm excited because I find students to be energizing, and I teach a lot now on this issue, and I find the more I teach, the more I learn. Plus, it's very, it gives me a lot of hope to see people come to be interested in the concerns that we all have. So I'm really looking forward to the event tonight. And thank you for having me. I appreciate the invitation.
Because of the noise that came up, maybe just speak up as we transition to Neil and Ken.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hafade Zantiro. My name is Neil Weir. I'm co-director of Right to Democracy. Was excited to be out here with my co-director Eddie Martinez-Roman earlier this summer as we launched Right to Democracy, and really happy to be back. I grew up in Guam, where my family still lives. I now live stateside. And Right to Democracy works to advance, to bring together all 5 U.S. territories to advance democracy, equity, and self-determination for the nearly 3.6 million people that live in all 5 U.S. territories. And as Professor Fife highlighted, it's a very kind of opportune moment on President's Day to be talking about these issues where U.S. citizens are denied the right to vote for president, at the same time having limitations on the right of self-determination and self-government in many other ways as well. And thrilled to be able to bring my friends and colleagues from the Virgin Islands and American Samoa. So much of our work is focused on building solidarity between the territories. There are many historical differences, different situations between the territories, but I find oftentimes we're so focused on our own situation that we don't take the opportunity to learn from some of the challenges and opportunities that others have faced. And we found just even in the short time that we've been doing Right to Democracy over this last year, so many lessons and opportunities just by connecting individuals who are maybe working on one set of issues in a place like the Northern Mariana Islands, and then maybe some folks who are working on those same issues in another territory, find how much they actually have in common and can learn from each other. So we'll be excited tonight to hear from folks in the community and hear about issues that people are focused on and care about, and also to have the opportunity to share some of the perspectives we have from some of the different territories as well. And just really excited to have the opportunity to be back and to meet with people.
Hafadays and Tiro, Kim Hines. I'm an attorney here in the CNMI. I'm very excited to be a part of this very distinguished panel of experts, just in terms of advancing democracy and advocating for self-determination of all peoples across the insular areas. And I'm glad that Neil in his introduction specifically talked about the fact that there are a lot of us in these discussions who are very focused on one particular issue, and but there's an opportunity in having these conversations to look at our common shared experiences with regards to just our relationship with the United States. I think over the course of this past couple of months since the Right to Democracy has made its initial presentation in the CNMI, there's been a lot of concerns in the community about the lack of just the CNMI's perspective with regards to some of the proposed solutions with regards to achieving, our shared objectives. Specifically, a lot of folks, want to raise or underscore the uniqueness of the covenant and how the covenant will be impacted should we choose to pursue one alternative over the other. And so I think that these conversations are very important, and tonight is an opportunity to show basically and highlight what are the unique challenges of each jurisdiction. And with obviously, I think that we all share the same common end result, right? But I think that the vehicle in which we get there might be a little bit different and particularized to, like you said, our specific needs and our specific challenges. And one of that basically, just from somebody who has experience, who's been working with the federal government this past 8 years, specifically as it relates to military issues in the Marianas. One of the things that we've been advocating for is that, we eliminate one-size-fits-all federal policies. So we're looking for carve-outs because we do believe that, there are unique challenges to the, because of our geographic locations and because of our relationship. And so these are, legal distinctions, legal arguments that need to be explored and further fully vetted out and fully fleshed out. And I'm just really grateful to be able to sit with this panel to learn about the different challenges and looking for opportunities to, advance the rights of all peoples.
Wonderful. Thank you all. Beautiful. We now open for questions from the press.
Yes, I have one question for Mr. Alaima.
Yes.
It seems as though the Supreme Court is not willing to hear cases related to the insular cases. So what are our remedies, if not legal remedies?
Well, I believe the Supreme Court did not take up the challenge to the insular cases in the context of providing citizenship by birth, because that was part of the impetus for taking those citizenship cases. And since American Samoa was the only territory without automatic citizenship that's granted by Congress, we thought that would be a route that would get us quickly before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has not taken that up. However, there are other ways to get to the insular cases, because the insular cases doesn't just deal with citizenship, it deals with a whole lot of the relationship between the territories and American Samoa. So at some point in time, it took a while, it took a while for them to overrule what they call Plessy versus Ferguson with Brown versus Board of Education that gave equal rights, separate but equal, back in 1955. Now, how many times you can get it in front of the idea is to advocate for it and push for it and continue. So if the insular cases cannot be overruled, well, they won't take it up through this route, you can bring them up in a lot of different routes that are available, and that's one of the things that we're looking at and proceeding with even now. Neil can give you more on that, because that's where the voting right issue come up, and there are other issues that will be coming up. The right to democracy will be presenting through the federal courts, and hopefully at some point in time, the Supreme Court will take one of these cases up and rule directly on that.
If I can chime in here, one of the other avenues that we are pursuing now is through the advisory committees for the different colonies to the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. The U.S. Virgin Islands, as I said, our committee we will be hopefully publishing our report next week. It is finalized. We're just waiting for the formality of whatever they need to do in the commission to get it published. But the committee out of Puerto Rico has also, just Monday, the 12th, a week ago, their memorandum was published. It's not a full report, but it's a very comprehensive memorandum, and it is specifically on the insular cases. Our report, the U.S. Virgin Islands report took a 30,000-foot view, so we're doing a broader perspective and trying to go through the history of how we got here so that there's an understanding of how this all happened. And we were really happy because Puerto Rico seems to be taking the opposite approach, and they're having a narrow focus and then eventually going to have a broader focus. So my understanding is after I present, which I'm scheduled to present right now on April 19th before the commission, Puerto Rico is going to follow immediately after presenting their memorandum on the insular cases, which is great because we have a very small section in our report on it, and they're going to expand on that. So to answer your question directly, I think it's at least equally a political issue as opposed to simply a legal issue. And we are hopeful, I use that word a lot, that it will garner attention and maybe some shame, which would be appropriate. And we are also encouraged that the commission has been receptive so far to these issues. So hopefully something will come out of the presentation and the commission will be moved enough to start the mechanisms that they can influence to expand these issues and bring light to it all. Thank you.
I have a question for Nick. There's been some discussion in this press con about having discussions at tonight's event, but could you talk to us about the format of the actual event itself? Is this a panel discussion, or are you guys going to have presentations on the specific cases that we're involved in? How's tonight going to play out?
Yeah, it's going to be a panel discussion with each person talking some about each of the territories that they're from and some of the specific cases and legal and policy issues that they've been involved with. And then we're hoping to leave a lot of time for conversation among all the panelists, but also for engagement and questions and conversation with the folks in attendance. So our hope is that it's going to be as much about talking together with all the people in the room and not just conversation among the people on the panel. I think that's the way we can all learn the most from each other and have it be the most constructive.
Dr. Fife, which of your classes are coming tonight?
Definitely announced to all my classes, and thank you. This is one of the big topics that are discussed in all of my classes, whether it's history or political science, current issues classes. The issue of second-class citizenship and American Samoans, third class, not even citizenship, but nationals. So we talk about these things almost every class that we have. And so I'm really excited for my students to come. As Neil mentioned, last summer they came, or not last summer, right? What was the month it was? August, yeah. My students loved it. They had a really great experience with not only the Q&A section, but even afterwards, there were so many conversations that were taking place to kind of follow up on this topic that we discuss in class, second-class citizenship, because it's something that when the students come to the school at Northern Marianas College, it's like they've never heard of the concept before, and it's like it's something that is really shocking to them once they're made aware of what's happening, and then learning through the other territories, they feel excluded as opposed to included in democracy. And we're supposed to be the leaders of the free world, and when we're not going to be participating in an election year, presidential election, and or our delegate to Congress can't vote on legislation, or not having any representation in the Senate, not having any legal say in who the judges are in the highest court of the land here, implications from the militarization buildup. We're lucky that the military changed course from bombing Pagan and Tinian, but who's to say that they don't change their mind again? And I've several students from Tinian. This is a really big issue, especially with the buildup that's happening now. So yeah, my students are super excited. I'm hopeful that there will be a big turnout. I know it's a holiday, so we'll see what the turnout will be, but this is definitely an issue that is at the forefront of my students' concerns in all the classes that I teach right now.
I have a question for Mr. Neil. I believe you're the co-director for this Right to Democracy. Can you just give us a background on how the board came about, and just your plans? Are you planning to also go to Guam, the American Samoa, Virgin Islands?
Yes, so we did, when we launched earlier this year, we did a listening tour of all 5 territories, where we held more than 17 community dialogues with over 200 people from across all 5 territories. That led to a summit that brought together almost 50 individuals from each of the 5 territories together in New York at the Ford Foundation. Professor Fife was able to join us, along with Sheila Babauta and a number of others from here in the Northern Mariana Islands. Now we're beginning to do more of our work and community engagement in each of the territories. We just had an argument in one of our cases focused on expanding voting rights in the territories in the 9th Circuit in Hawaii. That's what brought me out to the Pacific, and so we're continued on to Guam. Was just in Guam the last 4 days, where I grew up and where my family still lives. We're able to meet with folks in the community there, and looking forward to tonight's event and having other conversations with people in the community to learn about what people's pressing needs are, how they think about these issues, what we can learn from their experiences, some of the things that we can share with some of the perspectives from the other territories. And so just really happy to be back on island, and always fun to be back in Saipan, and really look forward to talking with people more.
And then just a question for Kim. So you have a unique perspective, having worked a lot heavily in the Tinian development. So, when the news of this group came out, there were a lot of online comments. Oh, do they want to get rid of Article 12, in our land rights? What's the balance between economic development and military development? So there's a bunch of, there's a lot of tension in our community about this. Do you want to address some of that, especially given your background and being at the table with the military, especially when it comes to Tinian?
So I know that, in those conversations, so for example, and I'll get specific as to, I give an example with the divert lease negotiations, right? when the Department of Defense comes and sits at the table, it has its own set of rules, obviously, and federal laws that they want to impose in terms of the negotiation. And, that was a negotiation, for a land lease, right? And the manner in which they wanted to conduct those negotiations were based on, federal rules and regulation, specifically as to the manner in which land is valued. So when we first started negotiations, the offer that was put on the table was incredibly low. I think the first offer was $400,000, right? And that they wanted an extended number of years beyond the 40 years that's currently allowed. And, the basis for that basically was the fact that on Tinian, you don't have zoning. So the land there, because it was undeveloped and it was north of the airport, everything was considered to be ag land. And so the manner in which they appraised that was based on those conditions. Well, I'm like, I don't care about your rules. That may be how the federal government values our property, but this is our land. And if you want to enter into the lease, it would be based on the manner in which we value land, our land. And so, I think that's where some of the concerns come in with regards to land, land alienation and some of the concerns that the community has been talking about with regards to overturning the insular cases, given the fact that the covenant, it took them 27 months to negotiate the covenant, and this was a back and forth that's very well documented. And more specifically, during those negotiations, there was an agreement that the Constitution wouldn't fully apply. There were carved out exceptions. And so how do we, reconcile the covenant, obviously with this very racist colonial framework, and continue to keep our political identity as a people of the Northern Marianas? And this is why this is a very important conversation, right? In terms of how do we remain unique? How do we remain a Chamorro people? How do we maintain control over our lands in these conversations?